Picture this. 1969. The world was a different place, filled with hope and excitement. People gathered around their television sets, eyes glued to the screen, waiting for something extraordinary to happen. Humanity did something amazing. We landed on the moon. It was a monumental achievement, a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. Neil Armstrong took those famous first steps, and it was a moment everyone remembers. His words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," echoed around the globe. But even now, more than 50 years later, some people still don't believe it happened. Despite the overwhelming evidence, there are those who question the authenticity of the moon landing. They've got these conspiracy theories about a fake moon landing, saying it was all made up. They argue that the entire event was staged by the government to win the space race. They say it's a big cover-up. According to them, the government orchestrated an elaborate hoax, complete with fake footage and doctored photos. In this video, we're going to look at these theories, see what evidence they're based on, and see if they hold any water. We'll dive deep into the claims and counterclaims, examining the facts from all angles. Conspiracy theories are interesting, that's for sure. They capture the imagination and make for compelling stories. But they also raise important questions about trust and truth. They make you think about different sides of the story and make you wonder if maybe, just maybe, there's something secret going on. It's a natural human tendency to question and seek the truth, but it's important to be smart about these things. Critical thinking and skepticism are valuable, but they must be balanced with reason and evidence. We need to look at the evidence and use our common sense. By examining the facts and applying logical analysis, we can separate truth from fiction. And in this case, the evidence shows us that the moon landing was real. The scientific data, the testimonies of those involved, and the physical artifacts all point to one undeniable conclusion: we did land on the moon. One of the most famous pictures from the moon landing is the American flag standing proudly on the lunar surface. This image has become an iconic representation of human achievement and exploration. However, it has also become a focal point for skeptics and conspiracy theorists who question the authenticity of the moon landing. Over the years, this picture has been scrutinized and dissected, becoming a central piece of evidence for those who believe the moon landing was a hoax. Conspiracy theories have flourished, with countless articles, videos, and discussions dedicated to debunking the event. One of the main arguments presented by these theorists is the appearance of the flag. They claim that the flag seems to be waving in the wind, which should be impossible in the vacuum of space where there is no atmosphere to create such an effect. However, this argument falls apart when we consider the actual setup of the flag. The flag was not simply placed on a regular pole. Instead, it was equipped with a special telescopic pole that had a horizontal bar at the top, designed to keep the flag extended and give the illusion of it waving. This telescopic pole mechanism was crucial for the flag's appearance. Without an atmosphere, the flag would naturally hang limp. The horizontal bar allowed the flag to be displayed as if it were flying, creating the iconic image we all recognize. The ripples and wrinkles seen in the flag are another point of contention. These were not caused by wind, but by the astronauts themselves. As they set up the flag, their movements caused the fabric to ripple and wrinkle, which was then captured in the photographs. Additionally, the flag had been tightly packed for the journey to the moon. This tight packing resulted in creases and wrinkles that remained even after the flag was unfurled. The fabric's stiffness in the low-gravity environment also contributed to its unusual appearance. In conclusion, the appearance of the American flag on the moon is a result of its unique design and the conditions of space. The telescopic pole, the astronauts' handling, and the fabric's properties all played a role in creating the iconic image. It is not evidence of a hoax, but rather a testament to human ingenuity and the challenges of space exploration. Another thing that gets people talking is that there are no stars in the pictures from the moon. This has been a point of contention for many conspiracy theorists who argue that the absence of stars is evidence that the moon landings were faked. They say this means it must have been filmed in a studio because you should be able to see loads of stars in space. The idea is that a studio set would not be able to replicate the starry sky, thus the black backdrop. But this shows they don't really understand how cameras work or what it was like on the moon during the Apollo missions. The conditions on the lunar surface were vastly different from those on Earth, and the technology of the time had its limitations. The moon's surface is super bright because of the sun, and the astronauts' white suits were bright too. The sunlight reflecting off the lunar surface and the suits created a very high contrast environment. This made it really hard to take pictures because the cameras had to be set in a special way to make sure the astronauts and the moon were visible and not just washed out by all the light. The exposure settings on the cameras were adjusted to capture the details of the lunar surface and the astronauts, which were the primary subjects of the photos. These settings meant that the cameras couldn't pick up the faint light from faraway stars. The stars, being much dimmer than the sunlit surface, simply didn't register on the film. You'd have the same problem if you tried to take a picture of a city at night. The lights would be too bright, and you wouldn't see any stars. The bright city lights would overpower the faint starlight, making the stars invisible in the photograph. Plus, the Apollo missions landed during the lunar day when the sun was shining, so it would have been even harder to see stars. The intense sunlight during the lunar day created an environment where the stars were not visible to the cameras. The stars are still there in the lunar sky, just like on Earth, but you can't see them in the pictures because of the bright sunlight. The phenomenon is similar to trying to see stars during the daytime on Earth. The sun's brightness makes them invisible to the naked eye and to cameras. It's important to understand that the primary goal of the Apollo mission photography was to document the mission itself, the astronauts' activities, and the lunar surface. Capturing stars was not a priority, and the camera settings reflected that focus. The engineers and scientists who planned the missions and designed the equipment were well aware of the challenges posed by the lunar environment. They made deliberate choices to ensure that the most critical aspects of the mission were captured effectively. In the end, the success of the Apollo missions and the wealth of information and imagery they provided far outweigh the absence of stars in the photographs. The missions achieved their goals and expanded our understanding of space, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire. Right, let's talk about radiation. People say the astronauts couldn't have survived the Van Allen radiation belts in space, but here's the thing. NASA planned the missions very carefully. The spacecraft went through the thinnest parts of the radiation belts, and the astronauts didn't spend very long in them at all. So yes, there was some radiation, but not enough to be dangerous. Now, about that missing crater. Some people say there should be a big crater under the lunar module because of the engine blast when it landed, but the moon's surface is different from Earth's. The lunar module's engine was slowed down a lot for landing, so there wasn't a massive blast. Also, gravity on the moon is much weaker than on Earth, so you don't need as much force to land. And don't forget all the stuff the astronauts brought back from the moon. They brought back loads of moon rocks, and scientists have studied them. These rocks are different from anything on Earth and could only have come from the moon. And then there are the special reflectors that were left on the moon. We can bounce lasers off them from Earth and measure the distance, which we couldn't do if they weren't really there. So when you look at all the evidence, it's clear that the moon landing really happened. The technology, the meticulous planning, the stuff they brought back, the samples, and what scientists have learned all show that it wasn't faked. It's a pretty amazing achievement for humans, if you ask me.